fact, there's probably some people in this room who wouldn't do it today. But if we're going to move our party forward, we got to stay with leadership like Kathy Hochul, and they have to always act like that. They have to always act like that, not just when they're a town council member, but they have to act like that when they become the governor of the state of New York. Now, I don't know how well you know Kathy, but I can't imagine that she envisioned herself one day of being the governor until she became lieutenant governor. Yeah. Now it's a real possibility, right? But who knew? Who knew that things would fall the way they fell? I can tell you who knew. God knew. It's divine order that she became the first woman governor in the state of New York. There were a lot of people who worked hard and long to make sure that there was never a woman governor in the state of New York. But God, she became the first woman governor of the state of New York. We would be remiss as Democrats and as people in this state if we dare to let her lose this opportunity to share with us what we have here in front of us. It's God-given, we better take it, we better accept it, and we better make sure that Kathy Hochul and this entire slate of the Democratic Party be moved forward so strong this year that Republicans, the party of the coat, will look back and say, what happened?
That's right.
I'll tell you what happened. Kathy Hochul, I'm very proud to endorse her candidacy for governor. Kathy Hochul.
Great, Crystal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Under the rules of this convention, Governor Hochul is permitted to have two persons to second her nomination. The first person to second the nomination of Governor Kathy Hochul will be Member of Congress Carolyn Maloney.
Hello, Democrats. It's my great honor to be here with state officials, with elected officials, with volunteers, with state committee members, everyone who's making and part of this great event to nominate our governor, our next governor, our existing governor, Kathy Hochul. I represent three boroughs. I represent Queens. Is Queens in the house? Queens is here. And what about Brooklyn? And what about Manhattan? And I have the great and unique opportunity to have worked closely with Kathy Hochul to bring hundreds of billions of dollars to our great city and state. First, when she was a Congress member, when she was lieutenant governor, and now as governor of our great state. Our journey together started years ago when I first learned about her back in 2011 when I read a newspaper article about her run for Congress. She caught my attention because every article said she was great, that she was so accomplished, and then they went on for pages talking about that it was impossible for her to win as a Democrat in red upstate New York. I'd heard all of that before from naysayers when I first ran for Congress in a red district. Some people said I didn't stand a chance against Bill Green, a 14-year incumbent Republican who outspent me 4-1. But the people were wrong, and I flipped a solid red seat blue, and eventually the whole east side of Manhattan from red to blue, with all of your help. So I had a gut feeling that Kathy could pull it off. I knew people were underestimating her candidacy, but I saw in Kathy a kindred spirit and a rising star. We had both been working moms, former staffers, former city and local elected officials, and I knew all too well that, like many women, Kathy was undervalued, underappreciated, and underestimated. She knows the hard way that change only comes if you never give up. You never give in, and you never take no for an answer. And then after her unexpected win, she had no place to stay. No one had made any plans. So she moved in with me. So I was able to see up front and close her energy, drive, and dedication. It was all so clear when we brushed our teeth at pre-dawn hours and started our 18-hour days. Years later, I was not surprised when she was sworn in as governor, and she hit the ground running for the people of New York. In a short time, she has done so many important things for New Yorkers, such as increased New York State's vaccination and testing capacity to help confront this pandemic. She expanded paid family leave, and with reproductive rights being bulldozed into the ground across the nation, Kathy is standing firmly on the side of a woman's right to choose by declaring New York State home to the women's rights movement as a safe haven for women and abortions, and keeping her promise to expand the 2nd Avenue subway up to East Harlem and 125th Street. And let me tell you, we are going full steam ahead. And with the federal infrastructure bill, believe me, there will be billions in announcements by Governor Hochul of capital projects across our state. New York State has always been at the forefront of progress. It is home of 2 of our nation's great civil rights movement, the fight for equal rights for women and the LGBTQ+ community. And Kathy has taken on that great legacy of moving our state forward into a future that creates a fair, more equitable, more livable New York for everyone. To the people who don't know Kathy or are just getting to know her, I can tell you that Governor Hochul is a devoted public servant, a mother, a wife, and everything she does. From every bill she signs to every hand she shakes, she does in the best interest of New Yorkers. Kathy has the fearlessness, empathy, and grit that our state needs right now as we build back better. And I know that when women have a seat at the table, or even better, if they're at the head of the table, amazing things can happen. It influences the policies that are proposed, the problems that are solved, and will affect people for generations to come. But the road ahead will not be easy. 2022 is one of the most consequential elections in generations. New York's Democrats will send a loud and clear message that we are united and ready to win. We have a diverse, history-making ticket led by Governor Kathy Hochul and a dynamic group of public servants who are carrying the party's banner and our shared democratic values forward. And with Kathy at the top of the ticket, with so much accomplishment already under her belt in only a few short months as our governor, I can only imagine the great things to come when we re-elect my friend, our governor, Kathy Hochul, as the 57th governor of the great Empire State of New York, the first woman in history to be the governor of the state of New York. We're so proud of you, Kathy. We support you. It is my honor to second your nomination on to victory in New York State and nationally. We have to hold on to the Congress and the state and the Senate. Thank you, Kathy, for all you've done. We're behind you 100%, and thank all of you for helping to make it happen. Thank you. Wow!
That's great. Great seeing you. Great, thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman. To complete the seconding process for Governor Kathy Hochul, we will now hear from New York City Council member Sandra Ung.
Good afternoon, New York City.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sandra Ong. I'm the City Council member, proudly representing New York City's 20th District.
Yay!
And a big shout out to my Queens family. Woo! Like so many of my fellow New Yorkers, my family and I came to the United States as immigrants, pursuing a better life. I was born in Cambodia. Just months before the Khmer Rouge seized power, it began the systematic persecution of ethnic and religious minorities, including Chinese Cambodians like my family. Tens of thousands were sent to the killing fields, labor camps, and government prisons. While my parents and I were lucky to escape, my parents, grandparents, and aunts were not as lucky. New York welcomed my family with open arms as we built our lives in Flushing, Queens. It is this open door and welcome embrace that distinguishes and defines New Yorkers. Our Democratic Party fights every single day to uphold the ideals of inclusion and diversity. I see it here today in this room, the faces of this dynamic group of individuals devoted to empowering and uplifting every community across our great state. But those ideals have come increasingly under attack. There are those who will build walls between us, who will divide us for political gains. But both history and the present have shown us words of hate can result in dangerous consequences, sometimes violent consequences. Here in New York City, we've seen a surge in hate crimes targeting Asian Americans, as those previously in power blame the virus on APIs with Harvey Luck. New York needs a strong and capable leader who will build bridges rather than sow discord. We need someone who will prioritize opening the door of opportunity for New Yorkers from all walks of life, who embraces our diversity, and whose mission is to continue to bring New Yorkers together and move forward. Kathy Hochul took office at a time when our state was suffering. Many speakers today discussed how Governor Hochul got us back to a recovery, but I have a personal reason for supporting her re-election. Just days after the governor took office, Hurricane Ida hit New York and devastated my district. Tragedy cutting short the lives of 3 of my neighbors and leaving families rebuild from the rubble. Governor Hochul was here immediately. She was on the ground, speaking with my neighbors, literally offering a shoulder to cry on and making sure those resources were getting to those most in need. I have seen that same leap to action across our state when life have dealt unimaginable blows. It is not politics, the Governor Hochul, it is just who she is. She has prioritized compassionate and collaborative leadership from day one. As we continue to grapple with the pandemic, we need a governor who will put families above politics. We need someone who will put in the work to fight for us. We need Kathy Hochul's leadership in Albany. I'm proud to second her nomination as the Governor of New York. And just a few words in Chinese. 不要忘记投票，投票是我们的权利。Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to open the voting period, and I want to go through it with you once again. Can I ask the staff of the New York State Democratic Committee to please go into the hall and ensure that all delegates are now in this hall and ready and prepared to vote. We practiced earlier. I'm going to go through it with you once again, and I'm going to make it very clear as to which candidate is which number. So as you remember, we just had the nomination in order. First was Jumaane Williams. He will be represented by the green button, 1A at the top. The second was Paul Nichols. He will be represented by the red button, number 2. Third was Kathy Hochul. She will be represented by the yellow button, number 3. So it's Jumaane is green, number 1. Paul Nichols is number 2 in red. And if you want Kathy Hochul, it's yellow. Now, what you have to do when the voting opens, and you'll bear with us, 1 second, you push the button representing the vote that you want to cast, and you will see in the monitor on your gizmo here It'll say okay. If it says okay, your vote has been cast, and we will have that. If you're having a problem, certainly come up front and one of the staff will help you. So be patient. We're going to have the voting will be open for about, I'd say, 10 minutes, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I would say that we will open voting now, please. Okay, and look to your number. Okay. And if it turns blue, then you have voted. Your vote has been counted if it turns blue. The computer will be doing the tabulating, and we will leave this open for a few moments. I'll be right back. Okay? I'll be right back. Yeah. Alex stuff. Okay. Yeah. But hold on to it. Hang out. Thank you so much.
Mic check, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good.
State committee members, please be sure to check your clickers and your vote. State committee members, please be sure to check your clickers and your vote.
Just be careful of the mics. Hey, John, great evening. Yes, Aaron, can you put eyes on it quickly too?
Yeah, no, it works. I'm talking loud. Right?
You got a peep? No, I'm just trying to hit you. This
You
one
might
looks like
wanna
it's more
tap.
straight on. This one looks like it's more straight on. That one's on. This one's good. This one looks. Take a look. Take a look. Yeah, this.
Kill the VOG mic if it's still on. VOG mic off.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are closing the vote, and that means it is now being tabulated and will be announced momentarily.
Do we want to go with Tom?
Tom Gary. Tom Gary. Okay, we're going to be announcing the vote rather shortly, so let's get everybody where you are supposed to be. I see unions, labor's in the house, huh? Great, okay. Well, welcome, welcome. Yeah, are we okay over here on this side? This side's right up on the... Okay. So you need to say your job is going to be to hold the everybody's got to lend a hand. Okay. All right. Can I have order, please? Okay, can I have order, please? We have one candidate who has received more than 25% of the weighted vote at 12.46% for Jumaane Williams, 1.98% for Paul Nichols, and 85.56% for the party's designee and our nominee, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Please welcome to the stage Rich Morocco, President of the Hotel Trades Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Special welcome to the members of the Hotel Trades Council in attendance. And I see Local 100 here too. Welcome. Look, my message today is a simple one. We are at a crossroads that will define the future of our city, of our state, and of our nation. And during this critical period, we need real leadership. Leaders who care about working people, leaders who understand our issues, and leaders who are willing to fight for us. Leaders like Kathy Hochul. Look, in Governor Hochul's relatively short tenure, she has already proven herself to be a real champion for working people and a decisive and effective leader. She's shown the compassion to understand the hardships that working New Yorkers are going through, the capacity to come up with creative solutions to those complex problems, and the courage to act on them. You know, when Governor Hochul heard that over half of the hotel workers were still unemployed 2 years after the pandemic first decimated our industry, and right after the social safety net of unemployment was yanked out from under us, she didn't hesitate. Within a few months, she was able to marshal hundreds of millions of dollars in direct relief to unemployed and underemployed hotel workers, to be used to incentivize hotels to reopen and recall hotel workers, and to bring that critical industry back up onto its feet. Look, she saw the problem, she identified a solution, and she executed on it. That is the kind of leader that Kathy Hochul is. She is a leader who knows and cares about working New Yorkers. Now, that is exactly the kind of leader we need now. But we also need leaders like Senator Chuck Schumer. Senator Schumer, by shepherding through the American Rescue Plan, ensured that millions of New Yorkers got unemployment and health care benefits when they needed it most. And because of his efforts, tens of thousands of hotel workers were saved from poverty during the pandemic, and tens of thousands of hotel workers kept their health insurance when they needed it the most. And look, we also need leaders like Attorney General Tish James. Look, Attorney General James has consistently used her office to prosecute employers who flouted the laws that are designed to protect workers. And she is exactly the kind of advocate that we need as this state's top lawyer. And look, we need leaders like Tom DiNapoli, who is a tireless watchdog and keeps us secure. And we need leaders like Brian Benjamin, who always puts working families first. Look, now, and now more than ever, we need leadership in New York State. And we need leadership like these candidates. And it is up to every one of us, each and every one of us, to go out and to make sure that they can continue their work on our behalf, right? So let's get out there, let's get to work, let's make sure that these folks are elected. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Folks, if I can have your attention for 1 second. Folks, if I could, I apologize. Because I have to deal with United States Secret Service, I have to move everybody here back quite a ways. Just everybody just back up, because we need this area clear, and the same thing here, and then we're going to be fine. Thank you. Just moving everybody back. Yeah, we just need a few more steps back, everybody, just a bit more. If I could.
297 miles. The distance between an upstairs flat in the shadow of a steel mill near Buffalo and the governor's mansion in Albany. The distance Kathy Hochul's life has taken her. But that journey would not have been possible without the courage and sacrifice of others. Her grandparents came here as immigrants. Her grandmother worked on a bomber assembly line during the Second World War. Grandfather poured steel in Buffalo that would raise buildings and bridges across the nation. Her father worked the factories by day, attended school at night to give his family a better life. And her mother fought for social and racial justice and taught her daughter to go into the world and do well, but also to do good. These are the values Kathy Hochul was raised with, and they're the values that have guided her through a lifetime of public service. The town board member in Hamburg, who used her tenacious work ethic to bring jobs to Western New York. The Erie County clerk, who modernized the office to save taxpayers time and money. The congresswoman, who risked her career to protect Obamacare. The lieutenant governor, who worked for all New Yorkers, traveling nearly 400,000 miles around the state to fight for higher wages and paid family leave. And now the governor, who's making history and getting things done.
An historic day in New York State as Kathy Hochul takes office as New York State's 57th governor.
She's the first woman to be governor of New York State.
She is stepping up into this new role, and she means business.
Since taking office, Kathy Hochul has signed over 400 new bills to help New Yorkers. She's working to turn back the tide on climate change, to make our state government more transparent and our criminal justice system fairer. She's cracking down on illegal guns, cleaning up our air and drinking water. New York has gone from worst to first in delivering rent relief. We're leading on vaccinations. And at a time when states like Texas and Florida are restricting a woman's right to choose, This governor is fighting like hell to protect it. But Kathy Hochul knows there's miles to go and much more to do. It's why she proposed historic tax cuts for middle-class families and small businesses hit hard by the pandemic. She's pushing to create thousands of new infrastructure and clean energy jobs. And Governor Hochul will give a much-deserved pay raise to the heroes that put their lives on hold so we could keep going. Keeping our schools open, our families healthy, and our economy strong. That's Kathy Hochul's vision for New York, and she'll work with anyone to get it done.
New York is not just a place, it's also an ideal, one that embodies excitement, energy, and endless possibilities. How we are judged will be determined by what we do right here, right now.
Kathy Hochul, a new day for New York.
And now, please welcome to the stage, Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful to be back here in person with so many friends and former colleagues and fellow Democrats from every corner of the state? Well, I am delighted to be here with our terrific governor, Kathy Hochul, and our Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin. They have brought new leadership for our state and new hope for our future. And here in this great city, I want to thank our new mayor, Eric Adams, for his hands-on, energetic, no-nonsense leadership. And thanks also to my friends and our senators, Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, our entire congressional delegation, for fighting so hard for New York and making progress despite the obstacles. And let's hear it for our Attorney General, Tish James, our Comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, Speaker, Carl Hastie, and Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, State Chair, Jay Jacobs, and everybody who's working so hard to move New York forward. Because, my friends, we need smart, effective, principled leadership now more than ever, not only in our state, but also in our country and the world. Just think about it. We have lost 65,000 New Yorkers to the pandemic. That is a lot of grieving families and broken hearts. And our economy, as you know so well, took a real hit, with businesses closing, jobs disappearing, everything costing more than it used to. And yet we are now in the midst of a robust recovery. And we still have work to do, but we are moving forward. But I want us to remember that too many parents and caregivers had to shoulder impossible burdens. How many of you had to be your children's teachers or your grandchildren's teachers? How many of you had to really deal with the stresses that the pandemic caused for so many of us? We've asked an awful lot of our children and our teachers, haven't we? We've asked a lot of our nurses and our doctors and our essential workers who kept our stores open, kept the lights on. In fact, we asked a lot of everyone on the front lines who kept us safe and healthy and working. And we have faced these challenges here in New York at a time when our nation is deeply and dangerously divided. Now, it is one thing to have political disagreements. Those are natural and healthy. But it is an entirely different thing altogether to lose a shared sense of truth, facts, and reality itself. And I know many of us hoped that defeating Trump would start to heal our divisions. I certainly did. That maybe, just maybe, the madness would break. But now it should be clear to all of us that the struggle for unity and democracy is far from over. When the Republican Party officially embraces violent insurrection as legitimate political discourse, when storming the Capitol, assaulting police officers, trying to overturn an election are being normalized, we are in uncharted territory. And make no mistake, our adversaries around the world are watching. Republicans are defending coup plotters. They're curbing voting rights at precisely the moment when democracy needs champions, when we should be standing together against autocracies like Russia and China. January 6th last year was a gift to them because they know something we need to remember. America is only as strong as our unity and our democracy allows us to be. That's why New York must be not just the home of the Statue of Liberty, we must be the defenders of liberty. Not just a laboratory of democracy, but a protector of democracy. And we must reject the big lie about the 2020 election and the cover-up of the insurrection of last January 6th. And we can't get distracted, whether it's by the latest culture war nonsense or some new right-wing lie on Fox or Facebook. By the way, they've been coming after me again lately, in case you might have noticed. It's funny, the more trouble Trump gets into, the wilder the charges and conspiracy theories about me seem to get. So now his accountants have fired him, and investigations draw closer to him, and right on cue, the noise machine gets turned up, doesn't it? Fox leads the charge with accusations against me, counting on their audience to fall for it again. And as an aside, they're getting awfully close to actual malice in their attacks. But as I said, don't get distracted. Don't let the extremes of any or either side throw us off course. Focus on the solutions that matter to voters, not the slogans that only matter on Twitter. Let's offer an alternative vision that inspires and motivates. Let's show that democracy works, that it delivers results for people and makes life better, fairer, and more prosperous for everyone. That's what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are trying to do every single day. And it's what Kathy Hochul and Brian Benjamin are trying to do right here in New York. In fact, it is what Democrats are running on in this election year. Democrats are fighting for safer communities and healthier families, with more opportunities for our kids and schools that are both open and fully funded. Democrats are fighting for better jobs and higher wages for everyone, for health care and housing that doesn't break the bank, for making life affordable, not just for those at the top. Democrats are fighting for cleaner air to breathe and water to drink, for common sense that tells us vaccines work and climate change is real. Democrats are fighting for the rule of law and for judges who follow it, for the right to vote, the cornerstone of our democracy, for the right to organize, because we need unions now more than ever, for the right for women to make our own health care decisions. All this and more is at stake in this election, isn't it? New York and the country has an important choice to make because Republicans have a very different agenda. Republicans will take tax cuts, like the child tax credit, away from hardworking families and give them to billionaires. Republicans will claim they're on the side of parents and family values, but they will do nothing for actual parents or families, nothing on child care, nothing on paid leave, nothing to help working moms and dads get by and get ahead. They will do nothing to invest in our schools or make college more affordable. They'll ban books, but do nothing about guns. They'll make it harder for people to vote, but easier for big corporations to bust unions. They'll let polluters trash our environment and let Donald Trump trash our democracy. That's why I intend to work my heart out to elect Democrats up and down the ticket this November. And that is why I am so happy to support Kathy Hochul for a full term as governor of New York. I've known Kathy for a long time, and I can tell you something everybody is learning. No one will work harder for the people of the Empire State. Every county, every community. She is a governor for all of us. And by the way, isn't it about time that the state that gave birth to the women's suffrage movement, the state that has always been at the forefront of progress and reform, isn't it about time we elect a woman as our governor? You know, it's been 22 years since I stood before this convention, receiving your votes to endorse my candidacy for the Senate. New York took a chance on me back then, and I'll never forget that. Now a lot has changed. A lot has changed since then. I'm a little blonder. And New York and America have been through a lot. We've all had our share of ups and downs, but I've never lost my faith in our future. You know, Robert Kennedy, whose Senate seat I was so honored to hold, reminded us we are a great country, an unselfish country, and a compassionate country. If we choose to be, if we fight to be, if we elect people who bring out the best, not the worst in us. And despite all the ugliness that we see too much of, I still believe we can be that country, that we can bring back decency to our politics, hope to our communities, defend our democracy, share broader prosperity, because you know what, Democrats, we are stronger together. So please join me in welcoming the governor of our great state, Kathy Hochul.
There's the reason they call us the Democratic Party. We love to party, right? Oh, and what a celebration this is. What a celebration of our values, our party, and great leaders like Hillary Clinton. Welcome back, Hillary Clinton. It is so great to see you and to hear your voice of reason. Thank you for that introduction. And since my very early days in local government, I've been so inspired by your strength and your tenacity and your belief in the power of government to do good. You've always inspired me. You and every single elected woman who came before me made historic moments like this possible. And I thank each and every one of you, the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, for giving me the opportunity to serve as the very first female nominee for governor. And sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede. Well, I won't keep you in suspense any longer. I accept your nomination, and I do so with a heart full of gratitude and humility, and I will never, ever take for granted the trust you placed in me and my leadership. I also thank my family for their enduring belief in me and for their unconditional love. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. I'm going to talk about my family. Let me talk about my family. I appreciate the enthusiasm. Friends, listen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Thank you. Democrats, it wouldn't be the same without a lot of ruckus. This is who we are. And I want to thank my family for their enduring belief in me and for their unconditional love. From my father, who's with us today, who first encouraged me to run for elective office, and my mother, Patricia, whose empathy and compassion for those who have less shaped the person I am. We're going to get through this, my friends. We'll get through it. We're going to be fine. Thank you. We'll get through this. And I'm proud to acknowledge dissent in our party, but I'm also proud of receiving 85% of the vote in this room. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, as I was saying to New York's first gentleman, my husband, Bill, whose love and support is the wind beneath my wings, and our children, Will and Katie, and their spouses, Christina and Matt, who've endured my absences with nothing but love and understanding. And to my 5 siblings and only sister, Sheila, who have that special way of keeping me humble. I love you all. To Jay Jacobs, what a leader. What a leader at a time when our party needs you, Jay Jacobs. Thank you. And to my brothers and sisters in organized labor, let's hear from all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Yes, we can is right. Yes, we can and we will. And to all the advocates and the grassroots and faith leaders and the many elected officials who are here today, who share my commitment to creating a New York filled with optimism and opportunity, thank you for sharing this moment with me. Now, I've been a Democratic activist since before I was old enough to even vote, starting as a high school volunteer, working with Buffalo's own Tim Russert to help elect Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Well, let me tell you, my friends, it was a time of incredible cynicism and distrust of government in the immediate years following Watergate and the divisive Vietnam War that pit family member against family members. And I tell you this for one reason, because today, many Americans feel the same cynicism, distrust, and divide that permeated our politics when I was a young, idealistic Democrat. And yet I stand before you today as the leader of the Democratic Party with the same fresh sense of optimism and belief in our values that our party stands for, same as I did in those early years. Because out of those divided times, that time in our history, each of these progressive movements move forward. Civil rights, women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, voting rights, fair housing rights, environmental justice, were all propelled forward. People rose up. They took to the streets. They petitioned their elected leaders, and they demanded reforms that changed the course of history. And now, my friends, this is our moment. We collectively as Democrats are poised to seize the torch that has been passed to us from that turbulent time and those movements. But movements, I will note, were mostly led by New Yorkers. And those movements moved us closer to the more perfect union first idealized by our nation's founders. So yes, I am very, very optimistic about the future of the New York State Democratic Party. And I believe to my core that this party can and should be a powerhouse, not to serve one individual, not just to serve the governor, but to serve all. So as governor and as the leader of this party, I'm declaring that a whole new day has dawned. One that is grounded in the belief that the power and organization must rise from the bottom up, and we reject the playbook that enabled only a few to succeed while others were left behind. And our party must be driven by the same grit, the same perseverance, and the passion to do good that defines the very best of New York Democrats. So, let us rebuild this organization as a beacon of ideas and inclusion and invincibility rooted in the core belief that democratic values are New York values. And while we believe that there are those who are vulnerable, there are those who actually believe that Democrats are vulnerable this November. I flatly reject that notion. Right here and now, I reject that notion. Because when we talk to the voters about our belief that all communities can and should be places of hope and endless opportunity, I believe they will vote for Democrats. Because when we stand together, we are unstoppable. So, why am I so confident? It is instilled in one basic fact, that New Yorkers always rise up in the face of adversity. We always rise up. And just in the last 2 years, after what we've been through, look how we're rising up. We have endured some of the most difficult times in our state's history following this pandemic. And I know many are still longing for that sense of normalcy and are reeling from persistent sense of loss of loved ones, loss of their livelihoods, and for many, the loss of hope. I saw it in the eyes of exhausted nurses, everywhere from Buffalo to Binghamton to Plattsburgh. We called them heroes, yet they still feel they're being ignored. I saw it in the eyes of a mother in Southeast Queens who wanted reassurance that when her kids were in school that they'd be safe, as this pandemic preyed on a parent's very worst nightmare, something happening to their child. I saw it in the eyes of a small bakery owner in the Bronx who had really good brownies. I love brownies. But he was worried that his little business that he worked so hard for would fall victim to crime and gun violence. And I saw it in the eyes of an upstate farmer who feared that the hardship of the pandemic would actually be the end of his survival. In traveling every corner of this state, I heard their stories, and I embraced them as if they were my own. New Yorkers whose lives have been turned upside down are looking to us, their leaders, for results. And we cannot overlook the reality that the pandemic exposed racial inequalities and disparities that long time simmered under the surface. Black mothers in Harlem, the Bronx, and Brooklyn still experience a much higher mortality rate in birth than white mothers. Home ownership, or even an affordable apartment, is beyond the reach of so many young people who all they want to do is live in the same community they grew up in. And access to capital to generate wealth and business in communities of color is still just a dream for far too many. And we sure know this. Women still face barriers to their success, from a lack of childcare to workplaces that tolerate a culture of harassment. These challenges are real. And New Yorkers, they need us to be open and honest about how we're going to solve them. But this much is true. New York's future will not wait. Our problems will not fix themselves. Meeting this moment must be the common purpose and the shared objective of every single Democrat in this room. It is a purpose that lives up to the best of our democratic values, embracing our great diversity, fighting for those who have the least, and expanding opportunity for all. Values that burn deep in our communities, that have been passed down by New Yorkers from generation to generation. And these are the values that will guide our path forward, grounded in the beliefs of fairness and justice and equality and equity for all. And that is why we believe in strong gun safety laws, so everyone from an innocent child to our young people to our police officers are safe from harm. And a true system of justice to build trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve. And mental health resources to help our neighbors lead healthy lives in a home and not on the streets. And especially mental health services for those who've been so knocked down by this pandemic. And we also believe in prosperity that creates a strong middle class, founded in equality education and workforce training programs to lift people out of their preordained destiny determined by their zip code until now. And we believe in environmental protection and a 100% clean energy future, because our children's children deserve no less. And we believe in a respect for organized labor and a commitment to a future that honors our heritage of labor, hardworking labor members like members of my own family. And we believe in the rights and dignity of every single LGBTQ plus member of our family. We believe in rights for them. And we believe in fairness for our undocumented workers and dreamers, just to give them a little peace of mind. And we believe in equality that empowers ambitious young women to have careers without fear of discrimination, sexual harassment, or retaliation, and to receive the full reproductive freedom that they deserve that's being denied in other states. These are the core principles embedded in our DNA as New Yorkers. Today we come together at a crossroads in New York's history and in our country's history. So much of our country, and you heard it from Hillary Clinton, even parts of our state are so divided. People are deeply retreated into their partisan corners, each team wearing their own colors, the red and blue, sitting on opposite sides of the field, shouting at each other, shouting over each other. Yet we cannot ignore the fact that while we root for our teams, we share a common bond, a love of the sport. And despite what's happening in our national politics today, we still share a common bond, and that is we are all Americans. And make no mistake, we are competitive. We like a good fight. And that competitive spirit must be harnessed, and not against other Democrats, but against the other side, the Republicans. So here's my playbook for success. I've done this a few times, my friends. Here's my playbook. You run with confidence, but with the tenacity of an underdog. You take nothing for granted, and you fight until the very last second. And to win, we have to demonstrate that Democrats will deliver. And over the last 6 months, by working together Democrats have made New York a better place to work and to raise a family. And we're taking on the tough fights that matter. We're showing that we listen first, but we act with conviction and fortitude. And we're restoring faith in how government works, but more importantly, who it works for. And moving forward, we will not leave anyone behind, because New York cannot succeed unless we all succeed. And our work is far from done, far from done. And the decisions we make in 2022 and beyond will have an outsized impact on our people and the state for decades to come. So as we start to write a new chapter in our state party history, our values and priorities must remain as true as they have since I was a teenager when I fell in love with this party. The hope and promise that's embodied in this party. And that is our unwavering belief in the potential and value of every single human being. It's our party. And what defines us is that we actually care about people. And we believe that government has a role to play in creating opportunity for our people. We believe in a better life for all. So our task that lies before us is to ensure that our actions meet the scope of the challenges we face, is to show the Democrats united behind a common agenda and what we can actually do for what is the greatest threat to the Republican Party? What is their biggest nightmare? A united Democratic Party. That's what they're worried about. Even on issues we don't agree, when it comes to election time, we cannot allow ourselves to be divided and never lose sight of the fact that as New York Democrats, we know where we need to go. We share the same destination. Sometimes we just differ on what road to take to get there, right? It's all right. We're all Democrats. So alongside the leaders we have, and we have incredible leaders here in the state of New York, Majority Leader of the United States Senate, Chuck Schumer, is our leader in Washington on our ticket in November. And you heard from our Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin. He is a rock star. And he's trying to take on the 370,000 miles you heard about me traveling. He's trying to go for my record. But he's incredible, incredible, the passion and heart he brings to this. And talk about passion and heart. Our Attorney General, Letitia James, what a tireless fighter she is. She is amazing. We are so blessed to have her, not just here in New York, but as a national leader in fighting for justice and fighting against Donald Trumpism every place it rears its ugly head. And she has been out there for us, and I'm so proud of her. And Tom DiNapoli, who is a consummate public service, who has worked so tirelessly in the trenches, and what a great friend and ally he is. And our entire congressional delegation, they've had to take some tough votes. I sat there with them a decade ago. I'm proud of them, and I'll be there with them. And people like my great friend, who gave me a home when I had none, and that is Carolyn Maloney. I want to thank her for her support today, but always being at my side for such a long time. And our Assembly leaders, and you heard from Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Buffalo's own, but also our state's treasurer, Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes and Speaker Carl Heastie, and Andrea Stewart-Cousins in our Senate. We have Democrats up and down the ticket, and we will run as one party. And we'll fight for every single vote, every single community, every single corner of this incredibly diverse and beautiful, beautiful state. And we'll draw the lines of separation between us and far-right extremism. And we'll take on the Trump Republicans who are working overtime to destroy what makes New York, well, what makes New York, New York. And this is our best way to stand up against their cynical and destructive efforts. And that is to empower and strengthen our own party. So how do we fight against their politics and division and fear-mongering? We organize, we mobilize, and we get out the vote. It's very simple. We know how to do this. And that's how we win as one party. One party that'll lead through unity and build on our strengths instead of disagreements. One party that'll move toward a strong and equitable recovery and lift up our middle class and our most vulnerable. One party that'll continue our effective and science-based approach to beating back the pandemic. One party that'll lead the way toward creating safer communities in our neighborhoods. And through a criminal justice system that lives up to the word, all-important word, justice. And one party that'll forever end the divisiveness, the dog whistles, and a system for that is too long left behind Black and brown and Asian and Native American communities. That era is over. And by accepting your nomination, I will lead this party just as I've led this state, collaboratively, honestly, in lockstep with our values. And as we leave here today, my friends, I think of Teddy Roosevelt's words that I spoke on my very first day in office. The story of the man in the arena who's marred by dust and sweat and blood, in stark contrast to the timid souls who sit on the sidelines. I said for the first time in history, a woman has entered that arena as governor. Thank you. But as I look out, I see so much more because I'm not alone in that arena. I see Democrats of every race, creed, ethnicity, gender who are with me in that arena, ready to fight for the very soul of our party and our state. You are in that arena with me. I see Democrats who are enlightened, emboldened, and empowered to spread the message that New York is back and our party has never been stronger. And I see Democrats that know that destiny waits for no one, for this is our time. And New Yorkers will regain that sense of pride, invincibility, unity, and of course, our swagger. As we enter this arena together, I say we rise up. Our brothers and sisters, we rise up for our brothers and sisters in labor, and we will rise up for women, and we will rise up for working families, and we'll rise up for the LGBTQ communities. We'll rise up for Black, brown, Asian, and Native American communities. We'll rise up for New Yorkers, from Buffalo to Brooklyn. We'll rise up for upstate and downstate. Rise up! We will rise up! We'll rise up! We'll rise up for one state! Rise up for one state! Yes, my friends! Yes, my friends! This is a new day for New York! Thank you! Thank you, and may God bless all of you, and God bless America! Thank you, thank you.
It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Welcome to